Have you ever just listened to someone speaking Italian and thought, wow, that sounds so beautiful, so musical. It's like every sentence is a song. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and figure out why. We're unlocking the secret rhythm of this amazing language. So what is it? I mean, is it just the gorgeous vowels, or maybe the famous hand gestures that go along with it? And yeah, sure, those are definitely part of the charm. But the real secret, the thing that makes it all click, isn't something you see, it's something you hear. You guessed it, it's the rhythm. Italian has this incredibly consistent, almost predictable beat to it, and that beat, that melody, is created by one simple thing: word stress. Now, word stress is just what it sounds like. It's the one part of a word that gets a little extra oomph, a bit more emphasis. Think about English for a sec. We say photograph, right? But then we say photography. That little shift in stress is everything. And believe it or not, Italian has some really elegant rules for where that stress goes. And that brings us to the absolute bedrock of Italian rhythm. Seriously, if you only remember one thing from all this, make it this next part. It is a total game changer. So here it is, the golden rule. The vast, vast majority of Italian words put the stress on the second to last syllable. This is also called the penultimate syllable. This single simple rule is what creates that classic Italian flow. Just listen for it. It's not gelato, it's gelato. Not soprano, it's soprano. And check this out, even in a super long word like perpendicolari, that same steady beat is right there. Once you start hearing this pattern, you hear it everywhere. It's pretty cool. Okay, but, no language is that simple, right? There have to be exceptions. But here's the great news. Even the exceptions in Italian follow some really clear, predictable patterns. So let's check them out. So after our golden rule, the next most common pattern you'll find is the stress falling on the third to last syllable. And lucky for us, there are some pretty good clues to tell you when this is about to happen. So here's what you want to look for. You've got words that end in ico or bile, like responsabile. You'll also hear a lot in certain verb forms, like parlano. And then there are just some really common words you probably already know, like telefono or gondola. See, they all follow the pattern. All right, let's go one level deeper. This next one is even more rare. But it's still a thing. Words that are stressed on the fourth to last syllable. Now, these can look a little scary at first glance, but I promise there's a really simple logic to them. And here's why it all makes sense. These super long words, they aren't really one single word. They're usually a command, a verb, that's had a couple of pronouns tacked on to the end. It's like a whole little sentence squished into one word. Let's just take one apart. Look at mandanello. Seems complicated, right? But it's not. It's just manda, which means send, plus me, to need, plus lo, it. And the original stress on manda just stays right where it is. The pronouns just hang out at the end. So it becomes manbemello. See? Makes perfect sense. So up to now, we've been talking about listening for the stress. But what if the language just told you where it was? Well, sometimes Italian does exactly that. It gives you a written pronunciation cheat sheet. And the rule here is just beautifully simple. If a word breaks all the other rules and puts the stress on the very last syllable, the spelling will give you a giant clue, a written accent mark. So you literally never have to guess. If you see that little accent mark, you stress that syllable. End of story. It's why we say caffè, università, and perché. Even in a compound number like 33, the accent is your best friend. But hold on, because that little accent mark, it does even more work than that. It's not just about pronunciation. Sometimes, on some of the most common little words, the accent changes the entire meaning. This is where the language gets really, really cool. I mean, really think about this for a second. What if one tiny little mark over a letter could give a word a completely new identity? Well, in Italian, for a handful of super common tiny words, that exactly happens. Just look at this E with the accent means is, but without it, A means and. Or how about C with an accent, which is yes, while C is a pronoun, oneself. That one tiny little stroke of a pen completely changes what the word is. It's honestly a perfect example of how efficient a language can be. Okay, wow, we have covered a lot of ground here, right? We've got the main rule, the predictable exceptions, and those super helpful little accent marks. So the big question now is, how do you actually use all of this? Let's boil it down into a simple plan. Here is your simple 3-step guide. Step 1, your default setting should always be the golden rule. Just assume the stress is on the second to last syllable. Step 2, keep an eye out for those common exception patterns we talked about, like words ending in ico. And step 3, if you see a written accent, your work is done. Just trust it. That's where the stress goes. And that's basically it. You are now in on the secret behind why Italian is so musical. So the next time you hear someone speaking Italian or you're reading it, try to listen. Really listen for that rhythm. I think you will be amazed at what you can hear now. It really makes you wonder though, doesn't it? Every single language has its own music, its own hidden rules and rhythms that give it a unique personality. What other incredible secrets are just hiding in plain sight in the sounds of the languages all around us?